Now we are in the phase of the reflections and discussions for the first plenary session. And let me make a couple of reminders. First of all, I think I am a sinner myself. Do please put off your mobiles once again, in order not to disturb the recording and the conference itself. Now, the structure for discussion, as I mentioned before, is that we have three commentaries or reflections from our three panelists, and I will shortly introduce them. And then we'll try to have some inter-panel discussion, and then we will be more interactive with the auditorium. And as I mentioned before, initially I will give you two minutes at the maximum for each public speaker, and if you are a larger amount of interesting parties that would like to make comments or ask questions, we will limit them shortly to 1 minute. And it's a totally arbitrary decision made by a despotic but enlightened ruler as myself. The participatory part will be that we will have your comments. Which actually takes us right into the discussion which we started with. How do we ensure participation, and when is it symbolic, and when is it for real? And what does it mean that we have different interest groups, share and stakeholders in the society? I would also mention that during the panel discussion and during the reflections from the panel, you can just briefly signal me, and I will try to remember that you are first on the list, or to ask a question or reflection when we come to that. Let me start with introducing François-Michel Gonneau. He's the chairman of the governing board of the French National Agency for Radioactive Waste Management. Very easy to pronounce in Swedish, Andra. Andra, no, which means second in Swedish, actually. And he is the second French interlocutor. So it's very. In his function, he also played a major role during the French National Republic debate of 2005 and the Planning Act of 2006, I think, concerning the sustainable management of radioactive materials and waste. Mr. Gonneau, s'il vous plaît, when you hear the discussions about participation in one hand and the legal framework of the ownership of the waste on the other hand, what are your comments?
That's main issues anyway. So thank you, first of all, thank you to invite me today for this important debate. A few minutes ago we heard Mr. Joly, who said that we have to be very modest when we're talking about radioactive waste management. And we have to be modest, because it's, first of all, it's such a long project. You know, it takes 9 months, as you know, to make a baby. And it takes 9 months to Mr. Obama to catch Bin Laden when he found it. It takes about 5 years to make a factory, industrial site. It takes 10 years to make a new high-speed train line or a new highway. It takes 15 years in Europe to make a nuclear reactor. And it takes around 35, maybe 40 years to make a deep repository. And this repository will work for 70 years in Sweden, 100 years in France, and it will be monitored certainly for maybe 1,000 years. How not to be modest? It's such a complicated project. There is no other human activity who are so discussed, complicated, evaluated. So you have to be very modest. And it's so important too, especially in a country like France. Sorry, I'm talking about France. We have, you know, actually we have 58 nuclear reactors. And we have 2 under construction. These reactors are making 80% of our electricity from nuclear power. Which means that we cannot do anything. We would not be responsible if we just say, okay, why don't we wait? We wait after the Swedish project, we'll see if it works or not. We wait after the Finnish project, we'll see if it works or not. We'll see how the American is going to manage after UK mountain failure project, and so on and so on. It's our responsibility, especially in a country who gives so much importance on nuclear power, that we have to find solutions, work on solutions, have projects about waste management. And it's so fragile to just say, well, Fukushima. Fukushima, that's a lot of questions. And that's a lot of answers we have to give people. If we work in nuclear electricity, or if you work in waste management. So that's why we have to be so modest. In fact, I don't know, I didn't know that Andrea had been second. In fact, we're third. First of all, we have Swedish and Finnish, and then we have French project. It's a timetable. I don't know if Swedish are first or Finnish are first.
I think we can settle that after.
But in fact, the real answer is that we are second. We are second because Swedish and Finnish are working on one model, and French people are working on another model, which are a little bit different. But it is important for the debate. And I would like to focus on this a few minutes, if you may. So what are the differences between the Swedish project and the French project? The first difference is evident. You're working on granite, we're working on clay, which is not definitively the same. We don't have the same quantity of waste, which means the size of the project is not really the same. As you know, we are processing the spent fuel. So we don't put spent fuel in the ground. We just put 15% of the spent fuel, which are the definitive and ultimate waste, which is different too. So when you're talking about reversibility, when you're talking about retrievability, I mean, who cares to take this waste? You take care to have plutonium and uranium, maybe. So spent fuel has a value actually. But we don't use the same process. We're talking about reversibility. Reversibility, which is not only retrievability. And I know it's not a real subject in Sweden actually. You project to settle down near in a zone where people know about radioactive business. You have nuclear plants not so far and so on. We are working in a zone where they don't know even how makes the electricity, how it's made. It's very poor and very agriculture countries with very little villages, which means that we don't have any. These people don't have any ideas about the industrial culture and especially the nuclear culture, which means work about acceptance, about information, about pedagogy is not really the same maybe than you have to do here. And we have another difference. Andra, the second, is public. Belong to state. It's a state company, and we be a state company for till the end, because we found different answers about legal problem. And in France, it's very important that Andra has a public status, because that means that whatever happened to the private society in charge to produce electricity during the next century, the states, we can hope so, will be always there, and Andra will be always there to take care of the waste, which is different than you have in Sweden. So I wanted to focus on this because it's not really the same. So we are not the second, we're the third. But what I would like to say is, you know, actually, a lot of people are wondering about nuclear business. I don't know what the answer will be given in each country. But I think Fukushima will change the world a little bit, or maybe more. But anyway, in our countries, we have waste. And we need someone to take care of them. And these waste it's better for the society that the waste are underground, in a deep repository, than on the ground anywhere around our facilities. So that's a big solution. The second lesson of Fukushima is that we need to give information. We need to give all the information. We need transparency. Or we're going to kill the business. Or we're going to kill the business. So we have, it's a big responsibility to tell the truth, whatever it is, to tell all the truth, whatever it is, and to have this permanent talk with people around communities, around the implementation, but always in the country, in each country. So, you know, we are very careful about what happened actually in Sweden and in Finland. We're very careful of what happened all over the world, of course, but I mean, as we are just behind, because our project is supposed to happen in 2025, which means maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I don't know, after the Swedish and the Finnish. That means that we need your success. And all your problems will be our next problems. That's very important to understand. And if you fail, if we fail, it will be very difficult for other countries who are just behind. You know, I have to finish, Thomas?
Yes. You never have to do anything, but
no, but I saw your eyes staring at me. Gotta stop now. I want to stop. So I'm going to stop because I see the main message is it's maybe very useful that we have exchanges between each other and especially with you. Okay, thank you very much for that. Let's move to Finland then, since we spoke.